Hey, thanks for joining me today in this study where we are looking at Jesus' own words, his personal testimony, if you will, about who he really is. And not who we've been told he is necessarily or who we think he is, but who Jesus himself says that he is. In John 8:12, he says this, "I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life." Say this with me. Because Jesus is the light of the world, and because I have Jesus in me, I never have to walk in darkness. Isn't that great? Now, when Jesus said, "I am the light of the world," it came on the heels of one of the most amazing grace stories of all time. The story of the woman caught in adultery. So let's look at that story for a few minutes today, thinking about a couple of things, the law and the light. Let's begin with the law because, wow, is Old Testament law misunderstood by so many believers today? First of all, the law was given to us to reveal our need for Jesus. In chapter 8, verse 2, it says, "At dawn, Jesus appeared again in the temple courts where all the people gathered around him, and he sat down to teach them. The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman caught in adultery. They made her stand before the group and said to Jesus, 'Teacher, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses commanded us to stone such women. Now what do you say?'" In other words, Jesus, she's broken the law. The law, Jesus. And that was true. The problem, however, was that even though they were teachers of the law, they didn't truly understand its purpose as well. They had a thorough understanding of its tenets and of the letter of the law, but they were blinded to its reason for being given, the spirit of the law. So the obvious question is, why was the law given? Do you think you know? Let me show you in Galatians chapter 3 and verse 19, where Paul asks and answers that question. Why then, he said, was the law given at all? It was added because of transgressions, sin. The law was given by God to mankind in order for us to see where we have fallen short. And how many of you know that's a good thing? So the law in and of itself is not bad or a problem. It's good. What is a problem, however, is the way some people will try to use the law for the wrong reasons, like these Pharisees who brought this woman to Jesus who was caught having sex, committing adultery. They literally threw her at Jesus' feet, naked and ashamed. The woman said, saying, "This woman should be stoned according to the law." Now, why is that? Well, a rule had been broken, right? And to these Pharisees, these religious leaders, rules and law were way more important than people. In fact, the woman herself wasn't even the issue. She was just a pawn in a scheme to trip up Jesus. They were not really going to stone her. It was just a bluff, because only Rome could legally do that. You see, once Rome conquered Judah, Judah became a Roman territory. And under Roman law, only the Roman governors had the authority to condemn people to death, period. So when the Pharisees brought this woman to Jesus, she was only an object lesson, a tool they wanted to use to get at Jesus. Verse 3 says, "The teachers of the law and the Pharisees brought in a woman caught in adultery, made her stand in front of the group and said to him, 'This woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law says, stone such women. What do you say?'" They were using this question as a trap in order to have a basis for accusing him. So I want you to catch this. What do you say? You see, the Pharisees were right in their accusation. This woman had been caught in adultery, and the law decreed that she should die. Every Jewish rabbi would have known that. But remember, punishment could not be carried out until permission was given by the Roman authority. So, if Jesus said the woman should be stoned, the Pharisees would have reported him to the Roman authorities and had Jesus arrested for undermining Roman laws. However, if Jesus said that she could not be stoned, then the Pharisees would have condemned him for ignoring the plain teachings of the law of Moses. In their minds, it was the perfect trap, right? Both of them, woman and Jesus, would have broken the rules, their rules, and both would need to be punished. Now, listen, I'm not saying the rules of the game are not important. They are. But when we have more passion for being right and we love the rules more than we love people, we lose the game. And sadly, so does everyone else. And how many know when it gets to that point, it is a dark time? But here's the light. Watch this. The law reveals our need, but the light of Christ was given to reveal God's grace. In verse 6 it says, "But Jesus bent down and started to write on the ground with his finger. When they kept on questioning him, he straightened up and said to them, 'Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her.' And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground." Now the question is, what did he write? The answer is, we don't really know for sure. However, many scholars over the years believe that Jesus was writing down the sins of these Pharisees who were themselves accusing the woman. And there's some evidence that supports that, especially in some of the later manuscripts that have been uncovered, because there are two Greek words translated into English used to convey the idea of writing something down. One word is the word graphene, which simply means to write something down. But the word used here is the word katagraphene, which means to write down a record against something or someone. So most likely that's what Jesus was doing here. He was writing down those hidden and secret sins of these religious men, the ones that they would rather no one ever knew about. Then look what happened. In verse 9 it says, "At this, those who heard," talking about the Pharisees, "began to go away one at a time, the older ones first, until Jesus was left with the woman still standing there. Jesus straightened up and asked her, 'Woman, where are they? No one has condemned you?' 'No one, sir.' 'Then neither do I condemn you,' Jesus declared. 'Go now and leave your life of sin.'" Wow. Isn't that just the most beautiful picture? The light of the world just became the light of her world. What a picture of the grace of God. By the way, I used to preach this passage like a lot of pastors. I would say, "Oh, be careful. Your sin will find you out." Light reveals what you do in the dark. Light reveals your sin and darkness. But you know what? I have to apologize for preaching that over the years because it simply is not true. God's light does not reveal the dark places in our life. His light dispels the dark places in our life. When Jesus told this woman to go and sin no more, he wasn't threatening her. "Lady, I'm trying to be a nice guy here. I've pardoned you this time, but don't test me. Don't ever do this again." No, not even close. Because before he ever mentioned her sin, Jesus gave her this incredible gift of no more condemnation. The law says, first of all, go and sin no more, then God will not condemn you. But grace says your condemnation was removed by Jesus on the cross once and for all. Now you can go and live in freedom and not have to sin anymore. Jesus is saying, "Woman, you're free. You never have to return to a life of sin again. You never have to go back there." Listen, the light of Christ means we never have to walk in that dark place again. So the question becomes, where is your dark place? Where do you struggle? What is it that tends to defeat you, to cause you pain, to cause you guilt and shame? Here's the good news. You don't have to keep living in that dark place. You really don't. Trust Him. Believe Him. The grace of His light has already removed your condemnation now and forevermore. And don't misunderstand, you will still have feelings of condemnation on occasion because unfortunately, Satan is still lurking around, isn't he? In fact, in Revelation 12, he's called the accuser of God's children. That means accusing and condemnation is actually the devil's job description. And get this, his mission is not just to accuse you, but beyond that, to get you to actually believe the accusations. Then you begin saying things like, after what I did, I'll never have a good marriage. After what I said, God would never love me. After how badly I messed up, God could never forgive me. Listen, that's not the voice of Jesus, is it? No. Jesus says, where are your accusers? There are none. One by one I send them away. You don't ever have to live like that again. And how can he say that? Because he is the light of the world. And whoever follows him will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of light. Which means, among other things, as Jesus followers, we carry his light. And we will be his light wherever and whenever we go, or we should be. Listen to these words of Jesus in Matthew 5. You are a light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, which gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Think about that. You and I are the light, and our light will light up the whole house. That means you have influence for Christ's sake. So at home, at work, at school, socially, let your light shine. Let the light of Christ that's in you shine. And that's really the challenge I want to give you this week. Look for ways to make a difference in someone. Ask God to bring at least one person into your life this week that needs the light of encouragement or the light of hope. Then you go be that person. Okay? Say this with me right now before we close. Because of Jesus, I am the light of someone's world. Hey, be that light this week, will you? And remember, what you give, you'll get. And where you need light, God will make sure and bring it back to you. Father, I pray for every person watching today. Bless them, bless all of us to be light carriers this week. I thank you for the light you pour into our lives. I thank you for the condemnation that you remove. And now in the joy of that, give us courage to go spread that light. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. If I can help you, if I can answer any questions or pray for you about anything, contact me on newdaychurchbrandon.org. There's a place there that you can drop me a message, or just hit me up on any social media. Just personal message me there, and I'll get back to you quickly. Okay? Have a great time this week, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.